What's up everyone, Darcblade here with a Dragon Age Inquisition multiplayer class guide. In this episode, I will be bringing you my guide to the Maiden of Death and Ice, the Necromancer. Now, the guidelines for these videos will be as follows. The builds will be aimed for the harder difficulties in the game, mainly perilous. The builds will also be for characters who are level 20. The ability section will be divided up into must-haves, optional and defensive abilities. There'll be a few tips on the rotation of abilities and leveling up the class. Lastly, remember that these guides are personal preference. I've tried many builds with all of the characters and these are the ones that have worked best for me, and I hope you will find them helpful. As the Necromancer, you will be playing as Sidoni. Raised in secret in Navarra by Mortalitasi mages, Sidoni was brought up to revel in her magic abilities. She feels no kinship to mages who do not share her pride, and she has little but disdain for most other people. Sidoni's only goal is to uncover her true potential as a mage, so she hungers for magical knowledge. When news of the breach reached her, she headed directly to see it for herself, hoping that whatever secrets it held would be key to her advancement. Now moving on to the heart of the episode, we're going to take a look at the build I use. For the four main abilities I use the following. For the must-have abilities, I firstly take Walking Bomb, making sure to upgrade it to Virulent Walking Bomb. With Walking Bomb, you can curse an enemy, which inflicts them with a damage over time effect. The damage is spirit based and will do 200% weapon damage as spirit damage for 10 seconds. Walking Bomb is fired like a projectile that has a slight homing effect on it. This means that it needs to be aimed and that it can also be intercepted by other foes or blocked by obstacles. Now, as well as inflicting a dot on targets, the Walking Bomb can also trigger an explosion, either manually by pressing the ability button again, or if the target dies before the 10-second Walking Bomb dot timer is up. The explosion causes 600% weapon damage over a 5-meter radius. Walking Bomb costs 65 mana to cast and has a 19-second base cooldown. Now, upgrading Walking Bomb is a must, as it allows the explosion of the Walking Bomb to spread the effect of this ability to nearby enemies caught in the explosion. The pros for taking Walking Bomb are that it does multiple damage types. It has a nice damage over time effect, coupled with a great AoE explosion. Add to that the Virulent Walking Bomb effects means that it's one of the best damage dealing abilities in the game. The cons for this ability is that it has a fairly long cooldown and you need to aim the Walking Bomb at the optimal target to get the most out of it. Start with taking out the weaker targets that are surrounded by other enemies for the best results. For the second must-have ability, I take Blizzard and its upgrade Ice Storm. Blizzard is a turn on turn off ability. Once activated, you will have a chance to place a rune on the floor indicating where the blizzard will be. Once the blizzard has been summoned, it will damage and chill any foe caught in that area, dealing 75% weapon damage as ice damage per second. The chill effect means that targets will move 25% slower and it lasts for 8 seconds once they are actually out of the blizzard. The radius of the blizzard is 8 meters, so it's fairly large. Now every second the blizzard is active, it will cost 5 mana, meaning that if you have a large mana pool or a way to regain mana mid-combat, you can keep it going for a long time. Just be careful when casting other spells, as it might cancel out the blizzard earlier than planned. Once you are out of mana, the blizzard will disappear, and it will incur a 24-second cooldown before you can cast it again. Upgrading Blizzard to Ice Storm is a must too, as it increases the effect of Blizzard, meaning that it will deal an extra 75% weapon damage per second that enemies are caught in it. On top of this, enemies who are chilled will continually get slower until they are frozen. Frozen targets are unable to move or fight back, leaving them open for more damage and cross-class combos. The pros for Blizzard are that it affects a massive area, allowing for massive area of effect damage, especially if placed over choke points or where the tank is. It also debuffs enemies, helping the entire team by slowing opponents. Blizzard, combined with a few passives, will also aid in the ability's performance, such as Death Siphon, which allows for Blizzard to be up for a great length of time, or Ice Armor, which allows you to have increased survivability when you're near your blizzard. The cons are that Blizzard can sometimes leave you drained of mana. It also needs opponents to remain in the blizzard for the best effect, and if you place it in a wide battle zone, enemies can easily avoid the ability. For the optional ability, I take Winter's Grasp, upgrading it to Winter's Chill. This is an instant cast ability that will summon sheets of ice, freezing or chilling targets. Winter's Grasp deals 200% weapon damage as ice damage to targets. If it's able to freeze targets, then the target will be incapacitated for 4 seconds and left with an 8-second chill effect. Targets who cannot be frozen, bosses and such, will just be inflicted with the chill effect. Winter's Grasp costs 65 mana to cast and has a 16-second base cooldown. Upgrading Winter's Grasp to Winter's Chill will allow the ability to cause a area of effect chill debuff over 3 meters. This allows you to chill multiple targets close together. The pros for Winter's Grasp are that it's a great method of crowd control, allowing you and your team a respite from some of the more irritating or fast moving foes by freezing them. It also gives the Necromancer some nice single target damage options that result in a frozen or chilled enemy, rather than having to rely solely on the blizzard for that chill effect. Lastly, Winter's Grasp is a great way to set up opponents for cross-class combos. The combo set up by Winter's Grasp is a shatter combo, dealing extra ice damage to targets. The cons for this ability is that it costs a fair bit of mana, and not every target can be frozen. Also, it doesn't fit that well into the AoE rotation I have with the Necromancer. Now, I'm going to put a second optional ability into this guide. Some people would rather take Horror, upgrading it to Despair. Horror allows you to summon spirits of fear that terrify enemies. Casting the ability allows you to place a rune on the floor, and once activated, it will cause enemies to panic for 6 seconds. Horror's area of effect is 3 meters, and comes with a 22-second base cooldown. Horror costs 50 mana to cast. Panicked enemies will not fight back and instead run away in fear for a while. However, direct damage will break this effect. Upgrading Horror to Despair makes enemies take 50% weapon damage as spirit damage per second as long as they're panicked. It will also reduce their armor by 20%. The pros for Horror is that it allows your team a breather when under heavy attack. However, the cons are that panicked enemies can sometimes be hard to control, and if you need certain enemies in a certain place, then it can cause issues. For example, panicked enemies could run out of your blizzard. It also has low damage when compared to other abilities. Now, I always try to take at least one defensive ability on all my classes in Dragon Age Inquisition's multiplayer. With the Necromancer, I take Fade Step, upgrading it to Frost Step. Fade Step allows you to rush forward on waves of magic, allowing you to sort of blink forward to safety. It also comes on its own cooldown of 12 seconds and costs no mana to cast. Upgrading it to Frost Step will allow you to damage foes as you pass through them with Fade Step. You will deal 300% weapon damage as ice damage, and chill targets for 8 seconds. The pros for Fade Step is that it can be used to get you about the battlefield quickly. Frost Step also takes advantage of passives like Frost Mastery, more than the other defensive abilities available to you. The cons are that it can be sometimes hard to control, and that you need to be careful that you don't put yourself into more danger when using this ability. As for the passives, I will go over the mandatory ones you need to take for this build to work, or to access abilities. Passives also give you an increase to your base stats. For the mage, you have Magic, which increases your magical attack, Willpower, that increases your attack and magical defenses, Cunning, which increases your critical hit chance and ranged defense, and finally Constitution, which increases your health and melee defenses. I take the following in the Gravelord tree. Firstly, I take Blinding Terror. This gives you and your team a 15% damage bonus versus panicked foes. Great if you're running with the Horror ability. It also gives you +3 magic. Next, I take Conductive Currents. This gives you a 5% damage increase for each 10% mana missing. It also gives you another +3 magic. Next is Hasten Demise. This grants you a 2% damage increase for each 10% health a foe is missing. It also grants you another +3 magic. Next is Simulacrum. This allows you to fight from beyond the grave when you're down. It basically allows you to fight as a ghost for 10 seconds once your health drops to 0, after which you can be revived by teammates as normal. It also gives you +3 willpower. This passive is actually a very good one, as it allows you to revive teammates in a ghost state. And also, while you're a ghost as well, you cannot be damaged, thus you cannot be interrupted when reviving teammates. And lastly, in the Gravelord tree, I take Death Siphon. Every time you take down a foe, you will be granted 20 mana and 10% of your health. It also grants you +3 constitution. This is a great survivability tool that can keep you alive, as well as keep your abilities such as Blizzard going for a long time. It also means that you don't have to rely solely on potions to get your health back. Next, I take the following in the Permafrost tree. Firstly, I take Gathering Storm. This allows each basic attack to shorten your active cooldowns by 0.5 seconds. It also grants you +3 willpower. Next is Clearburn. This allows you to reduce your active cooldown by 1 second every time you cast a spell. It also gives you, again, +3 willpower. Both these allow your cooldowns to be even quicker. Next is Tricks of the Trade. This passive helps the entire team by increasing the damage and duration of all status effects of your party. The damage is increased by 10% and the duration again by 10%. It also grants you another +3 willpower. Next is Frost Mastery. This increases the effectiveness when it comes to chilling or freezing foes. The duration of both effects is increased by 25%. It also grants you another +3 magic. And lastly is Ice Armor. This gives you 50% damage reduction when near frozen enemies, or a persistent cold spell like Blizzard. You can tell when you have Ice Armor, as the Necromancer will have ice all over her body. It also grants you +3 willpower. Now, having put points into these passives, this will leave you with 2 points left, so you have 2 points to put into any of the Necromancer's passives. I personally take Power of the Dead, that allows for a short damage increase after you kill enemies. The damage increase is 20% for 10 seconds. This works well with your walking bomb and aiming for weaker targets. This also grants you +3 willpower. I will also take Winter Stillness. By remaining still for 3 seconds, you regain mana at an enhanced rate of 50%. It will also reduce all cooldown times. You will also gain +3 willpower. However, this passive requires you to remain still, which is not to everyone's playstyle. If you don't like Winter Stillness for your playstyle and like to move about a fair amount, then the Calculating passive for an all-round bonus may be better. This gives you +3 magic, +3 cunning, and +3 willpower. Moving on to talk about the Necromancer's rotation. The rotation that works best for most encounters is as follows. Start by leading with Blizzard. Aim for where the targets are going to be, or where the tank is going to be holding them. This will start to damage and debuff a large group of enemies. After you cast Blizzard, right away cast Virulent Walking Bomb on a key target. The key target needs to die and explode, so that the Virulent Walking Bomb effects are passed on to other foes nearby, creating a chain of Walking Bomb explosions. Next, get close to the Blizzard to activate your Ice Armor. You can use Fade Step if you wish to activate this. This will get you close to the Blizzard very quickly. Now, the AoE of Blizzard and your Walking Bombs should be doing massive damage. All you have to do now is Winter's Grasp and Walking Bomb any remaining targets until everything's dead. You should not have a problem with mana or health thanks to Death Siphon. For leveling up the Necromancer, it's best to get Walking Bomb and its upgrade first, which should be around level 7. Follow this by getting Death Siphon at level 8, and then go straight for Blizzard, which should be by about level 13. After which I take Fade Step at level 14, followed by Ice Armor at 15. Next, upgrade all the remaining abilities, which should make you around level 18, leaving you with 2 points to spare. Overall, the Necromancer is more of an Ice Frost mage than an actual Necromancer. The necromantic spells, bar Walking Bomb, do not gel well with the other ice spells. I wish that Spirit Mark worked better than it does at the moment, as it would be more in keeping with the idea of what a Necromancer is. But alas, it's not the case at the time of this video. This being said though, the Necromancer is a great AoE damage dealer and a great debuffer. Also, despite being a mage and having low armor, she has great survivability thanks to Death Siphon and her Ice Armor. Most mages can support the team in various ways. The Necromancer does it through damaging foes and debuffing them with chill and panic effects. She is a class that has the ability and a rotation that synergize well, enabling her to tackle the harder difficulties with ease. Lastly, you can use this build in single player too. It can be used on either Dorian, or if you're using a mage inquisitor, specialising in the necromancy tree. So anyway, I've been Darcblade, bringing you my guide to the Necromancer in Dragon Age Inquisition's multiplayer. Hope you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.